on Friday that I had told Rock Riley Thursday night during the Buccaneers draft party that I did not expect too many negative texts or phone calls about the Buccaneers drafting Reuben Bain Jr. in the first round. I don't remember getting any on Friday, Aaron. I don't know about you. I don't recall anybody upset that the Buccaneers went with Reuben Bain Jr. in the first round. But how did you think they fared over the rest of the weekend since we've gotten to speak to you on days 2 and 3 of the draft? Personally, I'm never, ever, 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 ever. Like, I looked at draft grades on NFL.com, and some people call it state media, like they joke because it's the NFL's product, right? And they're reviewing it. And that's how it felt reading the article on NFL.com with draft grades, because I don't think anybody got less than a B. And it was like everybody had an A to A minus. I will never give a draft directly after the draft an A grade, because my assumption is, just based off of statistics and looking back, if you go back over, and we both think that Jason Light does a really good job in the draft. You can go through every single draft class, and every player isn't a home run. It's just never going to happen. Somebody from this class will be a dud. Somebody's not going to work
Obviously,
out, right?
But on paper beforehand, you can look at it and say, all right, based on what the analysis of this player was, based on what the needs of the team were, you get an A for how you attacked it. Now, what you're saying is accurate. Mm-hmm. We won't know officially until years down the road what the true grade is. There will be busts, but I think you can do a preliminary, hey, based on what we just witnessed and based on what we've evaluated, this is the grade for this team.
Yeah.
And I think A's are allowed.
I'm not saying they're not allowed. People can grade things however they want. Like, I just think that the reason I brought up the NFL.com article, it's laughable to think that 20 teams had an A, which is what it felt like. I don't know if that was that, was that drastic, but that's what it felt like reading the article. It was like everybody got an A. I won't give the Bucs or Jason Light an A on this draft. I'll never do that. My assumption is it's not going to be that. Like, an A draft is, to me, an A draft is everyone makes the team and a handful of them start. I think you might have a couple of starters out of this draft, and I will give it a B+. I love this draft. Obviously, Reuben Bain Jr. fell into the Buccaneers' lap. Josiah Trotter, a lot of people wanted C.J. Allen in that spot. If you're going to ask me if I'm going to bet on Jeremiah Trotter's kid to work out in the NFL, I'm going to say yes.
And that's it. I mean, the stock is great. He comes from great stock. I personally would have been, and I said it before, that morning, I figured you'd have to trade up a couple picks to get Rodriguez, which was the
right
case.
Before us.
Right, and you would have had to trade a couple picks to do it. I would have loved that, but clearly they liked Josiah Trotter enough to wait it out. They knew that Rodriguez, there was a good chance he wouldn't be on the board when he got to them. He actually almost did.
Almost did.
And I wonder what, I'm guessing they would have taken Rodriguez in that situation. But
I imagine.
When it comes to Trotter, you've got all across the board with his family. You've got good athletic stock. So doesn't mean he's going to work, but I trust that pick, and it is certainly a need we talked about for this team.
I think I love that he drops the hammer or the axe. They called his dad the Axe Man. I love that he does that same celebration after he makes a big play. Not that means anything when it comes to actual football, but
need him to be good in coverage.
And then third round, they go to wide receiver, which we all thought. I think most of us thought they would address that at some point in this draft with Mike Evans leaving. Obviously, you're not going to get a Mike Evans-esque player. My first thought when I saw that they drafted Ted Hurst was like, huh. Who's that guy? Let's find out who that guy is, because I didn't know a lot about Ted Hurst. If you want to know more about Ted Hurst, there's a great video. And assuming that you're not that guy that knows everything about college football and knows exactly who Ted Hurst is from Georgia State, because I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I watched a ton of his football before the draft. There's a great video on YouTube. Steve Smith Sr., who, of course, we had on last year at the training camp, was busting our balls a little bit, but obviously a great wide receiver in the NFL. There's a video where he breaks down why he absolutely loves Ted Hurst. And if, like me, you didn't know a lot about him before the draft, Watch that video, and you're going to be pretty damn optimistic about what this kid can bring to the team.
Athletically, he jumps off the charts.
Yeah.
I mean, off the charts. So I think for what, if you had to ask me right now what my grade is for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, it's high. You won't give A's.
I said B+.
Yeah, I think B+, A-, because what were if you had to say the biggest needs for the Buccaneers, 1, 2, and 3, what would you say they were going into this draft?
Edge, corner, and then I kind of looked at defensive tackle right there with wide receiver, like maybe even more.
Inside linebacker, I think you can throw in that conversation as well. I know you think they did a really good job addressing it in free agency.
Yeah.
For me, it was still an issue. And I think in the first 4 rounds, you addressed everything you needed. In the first 5, according to you, with throwing in the defensive tackle, also some depth with the guard out of Notre Dame, and you get a tight end in round 6. So I thought overall, for what they needed, and the replacement for Mike Evans. Now, when I say replacement, once again, nobody replaces Mike Evans.
Yeah.
But at least you give yourself a chance to throw another receiver in the mix. I thought they addressed everything they needed to in this draft.
No, I would agree with that. I would like to see it maybe slanted a little more to the defensive side of the football than it was. But either way, I absolutely love what they did. I would definitely give them a B+. And I think that the Keontae Scott signing, that's the difference between, in my opinion, the draft pick of Keontae Scott. That, to me, is going to be the difference between if this is a good draft for Jason Light or if this is a great draft for Jason Light. Because he is a kid. We all saw him in the playoffs with the pick 6 against Ohio State. Like, that play was ridiculous. But you go back and you watch this kid, and he's unbelievable. He was Daniel Jeremiah. When it comes to guys covering the draft, they don't get better than Daniel Jeremiah. They really don't. He had Keontae Scott as his 53rd best player in the entire draft, and the Bucs got him in the 4th round.
And
he's going to be the steal of the draft.
I also love pairing him up with his teammate in Ruben Bain Jr. And you'll listen to him talk, listen to Scott talk, and a lot of the times he was freed up. It was because of Ruben Bain Jr. So you think about that. Now, this is the NFL. It's next level. But them having that working relationship and understanding each other already, that communication level is already there, that's only going to help them. That's only going to help them when they have their communication.
Oh, my bad. You said listen to him, and I thought we had an actual.
No,
my bad.
No.
I thought we actually had an audio soundbite
there. But when you listen to him talk about it, he describes that relationship there, and that can only help them.
Yeah,
so.
I actually tweeted last night while I was watching stuff on this kid in particular that there was a play where I watched him blitzing right up behind Ruben Bain Jr., and I realized, like, we're going to see that again in the NFL.